Welcome everyone. This is our series, Witches in the World, where we interview, highlight, and honor amazing women doing amazing things throughout our world. Each interview, we close with a meditation, a ritual, or a sacred spell to integrate that magic. But today, we're going to be doing something different with Jessica Speer. She is a high priestess of Illumination, a psychic seer, a magician, a spiritual alchemist, a researcher of the occult, and a scientist. She uses Visionary Magick as the source of her paintings and speaks to spirits that guide her through her visions and bursts of inspiration when she paints. She is an incredible woman, and I am so happy to be speaking to her today. So welcome, Jessica. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm really excited about all of the things that we're going to discuss today. So before we get into that, we're going to start off with a ritual. I feel like we're on the same page about setting space and having strong energetic boundaries and psychic boundaries. It's something I talk about a lot. And I think witches who've been practicing magic for a while really understand how important it is to protect a space and to protect the magic that they create. And this is a space that we are co-creating together today. So yes. What better way to start it off with a protection spell? So I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, I'm going to move the camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. And I actually started this. Sorry, you're going to see some. Can you see what I did right there? I started the spell before we actually started talking because I wanted to make sure that our space was protected. You know, technology really interferes with the whole psyche more than we can actually even know or see. So not only that, but I wanted to make sure that our spirits are connecting in a very not only sacred, but safe place out of love. So I started it beforehand, and the cards that I decided to integrate into the spell are High Priestess, the Ace of Cups, and the Sun. So I wanted to make sure that we're also honoring the feminine divine. So.
I love that. I mean, so much of my work is really centered in women connecting with their divine feminine and their high priestess. Like, I love that you included that card in. It really is so beautiful. And especially you are high priestess, so it's perfect.
Well, it's the card of, you know, the high priestess of femininity. So, and then, you know, the Ace of Cups, or the Ace of Hearts in this case, that's the card. It really, to me, symbolizes the womb because it's a cup. So I wanted to integrate that, and then the sun, because the sun is what gives us all life. And of course I use black salt because I wanted to make sure that, you know, protected. And I used some resin called the Eye of Horus, which is a very high divine protection resin.
Awesome.
And would you like to hear the actual ritual that I performed?
Yes, I would love that, please. Like, I think all of our watchers really would love that. I know that there's a lot of people who are super into learning more about ritual and ceremony and how different witches do it. So yeah, please share.
Okay, and I wrote this. I always write all of my own spells because it comes from the heart. And I think that when you do magic, you really need to come from the heart and not do, you know, oh, this is the written part of it that you follow. I mean, some people, once you start to learn magic, maybe more on a constant basis, it's easier to start doing your own spells. But it really needs to come from the heart is what I'm saying.
I love that you say that, because when I first started really playing with magic, like, of course I went out and I bought all of these books and all these like pre-made spells and things, and I just never felt like I connected with it. This was in my early 20s, and so I kind of just put that away, and I was just like, maybe this isn't for me. Like, I was on a spiritual path. But it wasn't until like maybe 10 years ago, 6 years ago, somewhere 6 to 10 years ago, I realized like, oh, I can make my own magic. Like I can create my own spells. And then that's when everything like changed for me.
Yes, that's
thank you for
when
sharing
real magic happens, is when it has to come from the heart, has to come from your energy within. It's very important. So, okay, I'm going to share this with you, okay? May the powers within the universe and may the powers within me grant this holy gathering of spirits to rejoice in love, to rejoice in the feminine divine, to protect this holy gathering and the protection of the divine feminine. So mote it be. And I say that 3 times. I'm going to say it 2 more times.
Please.
May the powers within the universe and may the powers within me grant this holy gathering of spirits to rejoice in love, to rejoice in the feminine divine, to protect this holy gathering and the protection of the divine feminine. So mote it be. May the powers within the universe, may the powers within me grant this holy gathering of spirits to rejoice in love, to rejoice in the feminine divine, to protect this holy gathering and the protection of the divine feminine. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
Yes.
I felt that. That was really powerful. It was like contained.
Good.
So, I'm thinking maybe before we start getting into all this magic talk that I'm super excited to talk to you about, there's just a lot of things. Maybe just give us a background on how did you start your magical journey and your inner witch journey? Maybe you can show our viewers like what it is, like where do you come from and how did you find your magic path?
Okay, well, I'm going to start off by saying that I know that within the witch community, it's kind of controversial what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway.
Perfect.
So,
I love talking about taboo, about controversy. I love bringing things to the light and unearthing. So yes, please.
Okay. Well, I come from a lineage that starts back before the Holocaust. And I can only really speak from that point because that is who I know from that point. And that was my great-grandmother. She's a survivor of the Holocaust. She was a Jewish witch. And her mother was as well. And as far as beyond that, I don't know because I haven't spoken with them and I haven't heard much beyond that. But her mother actually gave her up for adoption to a Christian family so that she would not die within the concentration camps.
Wow.
Yes. And then that's when the conversion began with Christianity within the witch line in my family. So it's kind of sad, but pretty much all the women in my family since then really deny their spiritual gifts because of the fear of Christianity. And it's been hard on me as well growing up, knowing that I have these gifts and having to keep them very secret. So I'm really the only one that I know in the family that's actually practicing the craft behind closed doors. I do practice with other witches, but as far as being out in the open with family, I just don't do it because it's not worth it to me to really have to really dive onto their sensitivities about who they are,
Absolutely. And witch is such a charged word, right? Like the whole concept of witchcraft is so charged and has so much energy on it that it's like you feel like you're in a battlefield if you come out and you really like clean that in a public way. So I totally understand that.
There's a lot of fear attached to it. And there's a lot of fear attached to us spiritually because of society has placed on that. So I think that's originally where it comes from too. And then now this is the controversial part. So I believe anybody can be a witch and practice magic. But I do believe that wisdom is connected to our DNA and is passed down. That's why during this season, we work with our ancestors. We can really gather a lot of psychic wisdom from them. So I believe that that's been passed down to me. And I started becoming a witch probably when I was about 3 years old. So as far as studying and reading, I started in my teens. So, and then of course, as I got older, it started progressing. So it's not that you just automatically know magic, but you know, you have to study. But I do feel that it was passed down to me through birth.
Absolutely. It's funny that that's so controversial, because I know, you know, a lot of witches are like, you have to study, you have to, like, this is the path. And of course, yes, like there is the path to it. But I actually, like, part of the Witch and Womb, like, mission is for women to just really reawaken their inner witch, because I believe that all women are witches, and you know, some have a stronger connection to their lineage and a stronger, you know, gifts. Like some women are like kitchen witches, and they do amazing stuff in the kitchen, right? And like they would never consider themselves that. They'll just be like, oh, I love to cook, you know. But really, that's coming from a place of magic, you know, that's been passed down to them, and you know, being able to reframe it in that way. And then some women are just incredibly psychic witches, you know, like that's more my lineage, is the psychic aspect of witchcraft. And that's something I totally feel with you about, like hiding from your family. I grew up in a very conservative Christian environment where witchcraft was evil. Like you were going to go to hell if you practiced it. And that was very hard for me, because I was like, feels so natural to me. Oh my gosh, am I evil? You know, and I really struggled with that in my childhood and my teen years. And then when I got into my 20s and was able to kind of move out in the world on my own, I started to like really appreciate what a gift it is and how much in the light it actually is to have this connection. But yeah, it's a journey. It really is.
It really is. Well, I'm glad we can connect on that too, because that is really hard, having to grow up into that type of atmosphere, because you see other people that actually in your family have those gifts and they have to deny it for the sake of, you know, what they are accustomed to in, you know, growing up. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very true. Just a little bit about me. My mom was incredibly psychic, incredibly powerful, and she just didn't have the capacity to be open about that. And it ended up driving her crazy. Like she ended up committing suicide, and really like it went in a different direction. And I always look at that as like, it's so sad, because it's such a thin line to walk, you know, between being psychic and being crazy. And if you don't have support, right? And if you don't have that support and the groundedness and in a structure to understand like what you're seeing and hearing, like you're considered schizophrenic, right?
I know. I'm actually I'm going through that with my daughter right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because, you know, the science community tells you that you're crazy if you hear things or see things. So I'm trying to reinforce in her that, you know, mommy has this too, and this is natural, and this is a gift that you have. And you just need to learn how to hone into it. So we're learning about that right now with my daughter.
Oh, I love that. I wish I would have had that. That's my goal and my vision. I want all of the women to be able to teach their daughters that this is, you know, these are gifts that we have. Like your womb is so powerful, you know, your mind, your chakras, like everything is so powerful. And if you just use it in a way that's beneficial for yourself and for humanity, like it doesn't have to be something you're scared of, you know, and it doesn't have to be like as intense as it can be, you know, when you talk about those frames of references. Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. So I have a quick question, because I very much appreciate like the different lineages. So coming from a Jewish perspective and then being fused into Christianity, how do you practice your craft? Do you take a lot of your Jewish like mysticism, and do you merge it also with Christianity mysticism, or how do you practice?
Well, I've done a lot of studying, you know, with the Rosicrucians. and they do a lot of Kabbalah and studying Jewish mysticism. However, you know, it's not really conducive to my full craft because it comes from within instead of just learning. You know, you take that as a compliment to what you're doing. But as far as, you know, Judaism and Christianity and all of this dogmatic religion really just benefits the knowledge in my mind of fear. Fear keeps us from not only being who we are, but also being able to create real magic. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that so much. I really, really do. I love that you bring in what is true for you. And I think that's really what a witch in her power is, that she can take what works and what resonates and leave what doesn't, you know, and then maybe another day that's different and that changes, and being able to be flexible with that, but really always coming back to what is right for you and your magic. Because like you said, if it's not coming from within and from the heart, you know, there's no magic there. It just is kind of dead, right?
Exactly. Most definitely.
That's so cool. So then at what point did you start applying magic to your art, since that your magic really began in like what, your teens? Is that what you were saying? And
yes.
So then were you applying that to your artistic practice, or how did that evolve?
Well, actually, it's very interesting because it didn't start until my middle 20s, actually. I was always in the science field. I did medical research.
Oh,
and then I had a, yes.
I was wondering why you called yourself a scientist. I was like, I want to get to that.
I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about that too. I had a brain injury. And the brain injury, actually, this is very interesting, switched my mind from scientific purposes into artistic purposes. And I was able to paint all of a sudden. And it's very interesting. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Then I've made a profession out of being an artist, and it actually happened quite quickly. So if you believe in divine fate, that's what mine is. It was fate for all of this to happen. So that's how I started.
That's incredible. Like, I actually really see that as an initiation. A lot of the women that I have connected with that have like really made huge moves in this world from a divine feminine perspective, that have really stepped up into their life purpose, they all have something like this. I mean, maybe not a traumatic brain injury, but something that changes their life in an instant and turns everything over. And I love, it's very interesting that like it was such a physical experience for you to have that happen, because a lot of times it happens, you know, like a spiritual experience or something like that, but to have such a physical experience to shift and then to be able to paint all of a sudden, like, yes. Were you freaking out when that happened? What was your reaction?
Actually, my family was more freaking out about it. I was just like going with it, you know, like as if it had always been. Of course, I felt insecure about it at first, but my family actually was very supportive, and they're like, you need to get a website, you need to do this. And from then, everything just kind of like flew off the handle. And I was never taught how to paint, nothing. Like I said, I was in the science field, my career. So
wow.
It's just kind of, yeah. And then from there, I've had 3 children, and that's actually what really accelerated my spiritual gifts. And I started actually connecting with my paint, with myself and my divine feminine. So, and I use a lot of visionary magic when I do my art.
That was my next question, because I have no idea what visionary magic is. What does that mean? That's so exciting to me. Tell me.
Okay. Well, visionary magic is really like a meditation, but also more like you kind of put yourself into a trance during meditation to really manifest your desires, or to actually learn more about yourself, or to visit other realms even. It can really take you many different places depending on how much in control you are of your mental psyche. And that takes a very long time to train. I'm still training on that with my dreams. It's not easy. So basically, I just, sometimes I do ritualistic magic beforehand to kind of get me into a mind frame of what I would like to do and accomplish. And usually what happens when I go into a trance, I'm really not there. I'm in the painting. And I paint whatever comes out, unless it's commissioned. If it's commissioned, I usually do more ritualistic ceremony type art with the desire that they would like to be, seen on their wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's commissioned, so it's what they're looking for.
Yes.
But the paintings that you channel through, I'm just curious. Do you, like, when you have these sparks of inspiration? I know that you were saying that that you get psychic information and you hear your spirits and everything. Like, kind of walk us through what it's like for you. Do you wake up in the middle of the night with inspiration, or how does it happen for you when you're like, I gotta paint this painting?
It happens just sporadically all the time. And it's usually when I can't paint.
Of course.
Yes. So I have to write down things a lot. And it's hard to explain because when you're able to communicate with other spirits, it's hard to explain that from a spiritual into an English translation through my mouth. It's more abstracted for me onto a canvas because it's harder for me to verbally express. Some of that's also from the brain injury that I've had. I have a hard time expressing myself with words. But
really? I would have never thought that at all.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's been a long time, so it's really hard. And I also, try really hard to make sure I speak fluently so people can understand what I'm saying.
I do too, and I don't have a brain injury, so.
Okay. So, but anyway, so I see spirits probably more than I hear them. And when I hear them, it's not like I audibly hear them. I hear them speak to me within my body. And that usually is what's accompanied with this trance that I go into. And like, for instance, I always see random people that come to visit me within my dreams. Some people I know that are deceased now, and then some people I don't even know. Like this one time I had a dream and I was in a graveyard, excuse me, full of children. And these children were deceased. It was from like, I don't know, the 18th century. And they were playing, and some of them would come up to me. They wouldn't speak, but they wanted to hold hands and they wanted me to play with them. And I knew that they were visitors, but they had died as children. So I would be very inspired by that to paint the next day the beautiful visions and the visitations that I've had. So that's kind of what I meant by that.
Oh, I love that. Wow, that's so powerful, because what you're really being able to do is bring in what is happening on the astral level or the psychic level, and then expressing that into the physical level. And it's really like an alchemy that happens, right?
It is. Exactly. Spiritual alchemy completely.
Okay, so then, because I'm very artistic as well, and I'm creative, but I've never done it professionally. Like, I don't do paintings professionally or anything. And so when I create, I feel very connected to spirit. I think that there's a channeling that happens through me. I can feel it like coming out of my arm channels and into my hands. And I have a very visceral experience of a channeling experience. And, but I've never thought to use magic during that process, like, because maybe it was so magical for me already. So when I was talking to you earlier and you were telling me about all this magic that you infuse into your work, I'm like, hello, I should have been doing this for like years. This would be so fun. And like, I can't believe I never even thought of it. So I just love that you do magic and ritual with your creative endeavors. That's amazing.
Thank you. Well, it really breathes more life. I mean, art has a lot of energy already, but when you breathe magic into it, it becomes more alive and more, it puts more of a feeling within your body when you see it. And it really is transformative to your own life and to others that actually are able to see your art.
Yeah, I mean, I really got that because when I went to your website and I just took a look at like the paintings that you've created, like you can see the healing energy emanating like off of the screen. Like I can feel the power and the intention and the magic
Oh,
that you
wow.
put into it. Yeah,
Thank
I mean,
you. That means a lot.
that's why I was so excited to interview you, because I was like, this woman's got it going on. Like I need to know what her secrets are.
You're so nice. Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you.
Absolutely. Like anybody watching, please go to her website because you will see like the imagery is just like intense and you can feel the experience. And I was going to say like other dimension, like I felt that like very, very much. I know that's sort of a taboo topic to talk about, but I felt like this interdimensional like experience, this like almost like a portal or a wormhole through work, that this energy can come through and emanate. It was just incredible.
I've heard that many times from other people that they're able to actually go inside very easily through the portal that's created from the magic within the painting. So I'm glad that you see it as well, because that means I'm doing a good job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're nailing it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So that brings me to my next topic of conversation.
Okay.
Sex magic.
Okay.
Okay. So I know that this is super taboo subject. A lot of people watching might be like, what the hell is sex magic? That's so weird. But I have to preface it with my husband and I practice sex magic for a lot of different things in our lives to create different experiences. And it is powerful, especially when we're both on the same page. It is just so incredible. So I love talking to other people who practice sex magic. So I have a million questions. But I'll start with what do you do with your sex magic and how do you infuse that into your art?
Okay. Well, now for some people it's going to sound kind of vulgar, and it's really not. It's really actually very beautiful. Let me start off by saying that anything that comes from our body, whether it be any type of bodily fluid, it actually, it holds the essence of life. And with sex magic, especially when you use semen and blood, but more so menstrual blood, it really adds the most intense magic, exclair to the actual paint and to the canvas. On many occasions, I've taken my husband's sperm in my menstrual fluid during love making. I've collected it, and I usually mix it between my hands to give it more energy. And I really just infuse it into the canvas with my own hands. And I chant. Love that. And I chant while I do it. And depending on the painting and who's commissioning it, would depend on what ritual I do with that. But I also do a lot of blood magic, and that also comes from my menstrual as well. So, because you could prick your hands and stuff like that, but who wants that? It doesn't feel very good.
Well,
So
absolutely. In our last interview with Ariel from Mahina Medicina, we talked a lot about blood magic and why that's so powerful, and that's something that I've been practicing in secret, right? Because that's so weird.
too.
Right? It's so taboo. But I was telling her, like, it was funny, like, before I really got into practicing blood magic, I would have no problem like pricking my finger and putting it in my mouth, and I had no problem with blood from pain, but blood from my menstruation was like icky and gross and weird. And I realized that that was such a social construct that had been developed and had been programmed into me. And
Exactly.
yeah, and so once I started to like realize that and break past that and really work with it and like really put the blood in my hands and whatnot, I started to be like, wow, this is the life force. This is the blood of life, right? Like
It comes from your womb too, that creates life. It is so powerful. Did you feel it really go within you when you were holding it in your hands?
Absolutely. I mean, the first few times that I did it, it was icky and weird and different. But then once I realized I had so many, I don't know, blocks and resistance around it. And I realized it wasn't mine. It felt very societal. And so once
Yeah.
I moved past that, it was like, whew, like this opening to myself that I never even experienced before. There was like a part of myself that I had never even known. And it was so incredible. And then I started having visions about how menstruation is actually a portal, like in the way that the third eye is. I've never actually talked about this.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I'm stumbling over my words because I've never verbalized this before, but this is an experience I had where it's like a portal opening, like when you go into trance and you're able to like connect with other dimensions. The same thing can happen with your blood from your womb. And that's what happened for me. And then once that happened, to answer your question, it was like, well, everything changed for me at that point.
Yes, it's like the most powerful, some of the other witches don't do it. I've heard, because, there's even a taboo with that amongst some other witches as well. They think that it's black magic, or part of that, which is kind of ridiculous, but
it's crazy. How can something from your body be evil and dark? That just sounds like patriarchy.
Because it's blood. It's blood. You know
what kills me though? I'm sorry to interrupt, but
it's okay.
What kills me is that our entire society, like you go to any movie, all it is blood and guts and gore, right? But then you talk about menstruation and it is like, whoa, like too much information,
Oh, I know.
Like I just saw somebody become deboweled on this movie, like, but we can't talk about menstruation.
Well, and take your menstruation and rub it in your hands with semen.
Yeah.
I mean, there it's just, whoa, that's really going out far. But that right there together, I mean, that is probably, to me, the most powerful additive to doing magic.
I never added the semen aspect to it, but it makes so much sense because that is the essence of creation, is with semen and with the blood, right? It's those two things together that create life, literally creates life.
And comes from the womb.
Absolutely. And so being able to combine those two, I'm going to start doing that now. Thank you for that, because that sounds magical.
And I would personally suggest that you take it from inside of your body after you make love with your husband, because the act of love is what's important. I would definitely suggest anybody out there listening to this to not perform sex magic like with a lust intent, because whatever your intent is during sex magic, that's going to really come out in your ritual that you want to use that fluid for. So to me, it's really important to make sure that you are using it for love, because love is universally the most powerful thing. And it's also, it's not dark and it's not light, it's very balanced. According to what love really is. I mean, some people, our society has kind of been a little jaded about what love is, but true love.
Kind of goes back to why people are afraid of magic, and they're afraid of what magic how it could go wrong, like the intention behind it, the black magic, the dark magic, or whatnot. And that was something from my Christian upbringing that I, was like, oh, I don't want to go to hell. Like, I don't want to practice this, and it was very scary. But it's like with anything, what your intention going into it is what produces the results and charges the energy, and if you go into anything, like if you create a curse on somebody or something, like it's the rule of karma, like, right? Like it's just right. Whatever you put out there, you're going to get back. And I don't know if you're like me, but I'm like done with bad karma. So I am only putting out good in the world.
Yes. I don't know how anybody could want bad karma, but the people that don't believe in karma seem to not have a problem with it. Doing the bad things.
It's probably because they haven't had it come around to them enough, because I definitely have.
Oh, yes, me too.
I'm done with that.
Yes, definitely.
It's so funny. And there's a movie out, I think it came out like 2016, called Love-Witch. And it's like this kind of cool, funky 70s stylized movie. And it's all about this woman who is a witch, but she uses her love magic and her sex magic for the wrong reasons. And it all like goes wrong for her. So if anybody's thinking about doing it, using sex magic in the wrong ways, or in not love light ways, watch that movie, because you probably won't after that.
Right. That's why it's important to also, you want to have that those fluids charged. So even though it sounds vulgar, but you really want to take it from your body after your husband or whoever it may be ejaculates, because it's really after that source of the magic that you guys did together. Just that energy that was exchanged.
Absolutely. So,
yes.
And so my other question is, do you feel that you need to be in a committed relationship to practice sex magic in a way that's in the light, or just as long as the other person is aware of what's going on? Or what do you feel like are some guidelines for people who might not be, in committed relationships?
Well, I think in order to truly love someone, you need to be somewhat committed, because you're not going to want to just have multiple partners, because, this is a hard conversation, because a lot of different people have different views. But my view, as far as love goes, is you want to be in a committed relationship just for various reasons, like disease. And you don't want to spread yourself too thin. And when you exchange sexual energy with somebody, and you are having multiple partners, you're bringing that energy from them as well. And that really does affect magic. So I would suggest that it's in a committed relationship, whether it's married or not married. And really make sure that you both love each other, because that's what's going to charge the magic that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And it's hard, like when I was single, I did have a lot of partners, and I had fun. I was single. I didn't take it very seriously. And then when I got married, I had this psychic hit during this meditation, how I needed to clean my womb from all of my previous partners, because their energy was still there. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I would have known that, I would have maybe been a little bit more, I don't know, not as willing to share that part of myself,
Exactly. Me too.
Right?
Yeah. Me too. I've gone through the same thing myself. And, when you do have psychic abilities, for me, I would be able to actually see and feel the other person that I was making love with their last partner. And that's not very comfortable for me.
I don't think that's comfortable for anybody.
Yeah. So, if you have psychic abilities, don't have sex with multiple people, because you'll be having sex with them too.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's so true. And like and the cords that get attached that happen, the connection that happens through the act of sex, like I still find myself pulling cords out of my space from previous partners. And I'm not like, I didn't have like a million partners, but I mean, when you give yourself to somebody that way and you open yourself in that way, you're opening into the depths of who you are. And it's very easy to attach that. And if you're a powerful witch, people want to attach to that because
oh yeah,
you want your magic, right?
Exactly. And that's another good point that you just made. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing all of the taboo stuff, because I know that's something that it's not comfortable to talk about, and it's not and a lot of people have different viewpoints on what it is, but the truth is when we make a baby, we are practicing sex magic. That's what it is.
Oh my gosh, yes, most definitely. Yes.
Even if you don't even know that you're doing it, that is what it is.
Yes,
So for the women who are watching and they're like, oh, that's not something I would ever do, if you've had a child, you've done it. If you've gone through the birth process, you've practiced sex magic, right?
100%.
Like, absolutely.
Definitely. And that's why it's so beautiful.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to put that out there to normalize it a little bit, because it is something that we already do, even if we don't know it, right?
Exactly. And that's probably why too, the majority, women are witches. They're all witches.
Right?
They just need to tap into it, because more than likely everybody's doing it regardless if they know it or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's what's like so special about witchcraft is it's not something new, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's something you just have to tune into. It's just something you have to be awakened to, like, I don't know, just like dial in that little like radio dial, right? Of like, oh, it's been there all along. I can just like sharpen it a little bit, right?
Exactly. No, you totally described that very well.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I feel just so passionate about like helping women wake up to that sense of themselves, because there's so much power in it. And if we can just get all the patriarchy crap out of the way, and all the programming and all the religion and all of the control and, all of that kind of stuff, and women can just really be in their true essence, like, I feel like that's how we change the world. That's how we create future generations of people who are connected to themselves. They're connected to their higher selves. They're to their God of their heart. That, we create a society of love-based people and love-based humanity, really.
Most definitely. And I have to add something to that, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I think the progression of technology that our world is experiencing also really takes away from our natural ability to be more in touch with ourselves and to create magic. And it's very important that we actually go out into nature and really ground ourselves and come back to ourselves, because it's so filled with so much psychic waves of interruption that people don't realize it, but they really forget what is important. And it's almost kind of like, makes us robotic, like zombies, and we don't even realize it. So it's very important to go out into nature and to ground yourself from all that technology and just leave your cell phone at home.
I'm so happy you said that, because I had, I can't remember, like I came across something the other day where it showed an image. It was like a painting of all of the Wi-Fi signals. Like if you walked out of your house and just the Wi-Fi signals, like forget about psychic attacks or beings or anything on the spiritual level. If you just look at the Wi-Fi that you get bombarded with on a daily basis, and how that can like interrupt your own natural like flow of your energy. Like,
oh my gosh,
crazy.
It is. And that's why you have to go out in nature, because otherwise it's almost like you suffocate yourself.
It's so true. I notice like whenever I start to get like very irritated or grumpy or whatever, it's because I just haven't gone to the beach, or I haven't gone on a hike, or I haven't really gone back into nature and connected just with like the quiet, the silence, the ability to just be like alone. You know, when you're really psychic, like there's a lot of energy on you, and your family's in your space, and your friends, and your work, and your career, and everybody's just like, hello, right here in your space. It's like spiritual constipation.
Right.
Right?
Or interference.
Yes. And then you go out into nature and you can just like drop everything, drop the technology, drop the people, and then reconnect to your true self. I mean, there is something about why women and witches are connected to nature and Mother Earth, and that connection of the cycles of the moon with the cycles of our womb. I mean, we are the little goddesses of nature, you know, the little sprites of nature.
Yes, most definitely. We're all goddesses.
Yep. And so we need that. So thank you for sharing that. I think I even want to do a whole video on just why it's important to go in nature, because I really feel called to that.
You should. It's really important. I wanted to talk about my latest painting that I'm working on right now. Okay. I'm just going to show you a little view of it. Okay. Can you see it?
Oh, wow. I think I saw that on your Instagram.
Yes. It's a piece I'm working on called Transmutation, and it's actually a personal piece. It's it's me. So it's me actually trying to transmute myself into my higher being, and I'm doing this by painting myself. So that's the latest one I'm doing, and it's actually really hard. It's hard. This is the hardest painting I've ever done, and it's also very large, so that doesn't help.
Probably, right?
Yes.
It sounds like it's a what is the word, like a spiritual journey. It's kind of like when somebody sits down to write their book of their memories, their story, right?
Exactly. So this is my spiritual journey infused into my painting. That's what it is. So
are you going to sell it? Is it going to be something you keep? Like, what's your vision for it?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
I haven't decided yet. So I think it depends. It depends on who it is. It won't just be to a random person.
Right.
Unless the price
it's your higher self. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, even if the price is right, I mean, it's still hard to part with any piece of art that you do because it's so personal. So like there's a painting I still miss that was like 10 years ago. And nothing can, you know, replace that painting, even if it was like $50,000, you know, and you just, anyway. So this painting is basically myself. So maybe after I'm, you know, I've gone away and I'm not here anymore, my children can decide what they want to do with it.
Oh, I love that. And they can pass it down. Oh, I just saw this like beautiful, like passing down the wisdom and the gifts and the connection to the lineage, to your spirit, to your witchiness, like through this painting. That's beautiful.
And actually that painting has my bodily fluids in it as well.
Well, I would expect so.
Yes. A lot of spit, actually, because when I paint, sometimes I run out of water, so I use my spit.
I love it. Well, you know, and I mean, right? Like any art, any creative endeavor is truly blood, sweat, and tears, right? It's just
most definitely.
And then you also create for people, like you were saying that you do paintings for people's energy fields. What is that about? That's so interesting.
Well, some people associate that with your aura, but I see people's energy fields with color. So, you know, they can do a sitting, and I can paint them as far as their color field. I don't really say aura all the time, and that's mainly because people that get their photos taken for that aura, it's a little bit different for me because I see their spirit, and I paint that energy field around their spirit. And
so it's almost like their energetic signature, their spiritual signature in color.
Yes. But if somebody maybe has too low of a frequency of their energy field. I won't paint them because they have some healing they need to do first. It's very easy for me to suck that into me because I'm very sponge-like. And that's really unhealthy for me. So not that I'm draining anybody of their energy, but it's very hard to paint and have that spiritual block in between this other person. You have to open up your field. I wanted to tell you about this is where I become the science artist. So I'm actually working on the first electromagnetic painting. So I'm actually,
What does that mean? What is electromagnetic?
So I'm creating a force field of electrons, positive and negative, that react with magnetic paint. And from that, I add different additives, like of different rocks that have different properties I add to the paint. And from that, it has different reactions. So it'll actually create its own painting because it'll actually become alive from the electrons. It's electricity. And
whoa, that's so cool.
and then from that, I actually, because light and sound are on a similar frequency, they're not the same, but they're similar. I can actually really transform those waves from the electromagnetic painting and the different colors, because actually they've done studies where color has different notes in music. So I will actually transform that and put it through a processor on a laptop, and it'll create its own music.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's magic. That's my ultimate alchemist right there as a magician.
That's incredible. Well, I mean, that's what's so funny is that science is magic, right? Like, okay, so when is that coming out? That's so incredible.
I'm hoping by 2020, I might have something to show the world. But, you know, it's very in depth with what I have to do as far as experimentation. And it takes a lot of planning. I've been planning this for about 3 years.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like this is a big project.
Yes, and I'm actually in the process of getting grants from different organizations that help artists, visionary artists, to really come up with these types of projects and inventions.
So is there any way that people can help and donate to this cause? Because it just seems like so incredible that I feel like people would want to be a part of helping bringing this into the world.
Well, I think probably just purchasing art is a good way. I don't really take donations for that. But if they would like to support their art, the arts, that's a great way to support also visionary art, which would be the electromagnetic innovation. And I believe it's the future of art as well.
That's so cool. I've never heard of that. And I'm so excited that you're doing this. It's incredible. I can't wait to see what it all looks like. Oh my gosh. Jessica, it's been so amazing chatting with you today.
Thank you.
So if people want to get some artwork commissioned or purchase some of your art, where should they go?
They can go to my website at www.lbpaintingsspiritualawakenings.com. And that is my website. They can also call me on the phone, which is on my website as well, or they can email me at lbpaintings333@gmail.com, and we can work like that as well.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So before we close, I just wanted to do I like to do a closing ceremony just to integrate all of this juiciness and all this wonderful information that we got. And I pulled a card earlier today because I knew that we were going to do a ritual to begin with, so to close. And I don't know if anybody knows this Isis Oracle deck. It is one of my favorites, and I just felt like this was so important for today with Jessica. So I pulled a card, and the card is the Dark Mysteries. I don't know if you can see that. She's super powerful woman. And it says, enter the chamber of the dark goddess. So I'm going to just read a little snippet, and then there's a little chant at the end that I'll read just to close the space. So the dark goddess calls you to her inner chamber, where she holds a test and a gift for you. The test is your willingness to meet and release the fears within that have been secretly holding you back. The gift is freedom, peace, opportunity, and prosperity in all of its forms. Will you accept her call? Your time for a deeper initiation is here.
Beautiful.
And I felt like that's so poignant for all the taboo stuff we talked about releasing all of those judgments and everything. So
most definitely.
So the little prayer at the end to integrate all of this is very simple. You just have to close your eyes and put your hands over your heart. And I will read the incantation. So, sublime Isis, dark and sweet, through you my hidden self I meet. I honor this self and accept. No longer do I fear, shame, or reject. You gift me with myself complete, sublime Isis, dark and sweet.
Beautiful. And Isis is so perfect for this entire interview as well.
Absolutely. That's why I just felt like I have all these oracle decks and all these cards, and she was just like, so I was like, all right, that's what she has to be. So, Jessica, thank you so much for this amazing interview. I loved getting to know you and know your process and your witchcraft and your magic in the world. I feel so honored. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I feel honored too. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And thank you everybody who's been watching. Each and every week we'll be doing an interview with another witch in the world who's doing amazing things. So make sure you join us at witchandwomb.com. Join our coven so you can stay up to date on all of our offerings, our interviews, and our magic. So we'll see you next time, witches. Mwah! Bye-bye.